don't do anything. So the audio is live, but the video isn't. Oh, sorry, so this 10 seconds. Oh my God. This is the dress rehearsal. Good morning, everybody. My name is Geoff, and this is Emily.
Hello.
And we're really delighted to welcome you to the Makery in Northumberland. This is the home of our company, the home of Intelligen. And this morning we've got about half an hour to run through with you the powerPOD, which is something we've been working on for about 18 months through a CPC-funded project. Funded through the Department for Transport and with the Broads National Park as our project partner. Before we start, I'll tell you a little bit about what to expect, and then we'll thank some partners, and then we'll show you around. We've got about half an hour allocated this morning. We might not take quite that long. There will be time for questions. Holding my phone in case anything comes through during the live, and we can answer some of those questions a little bit near the end. There will be, feel free to post comments. I think, Emily, you've left the comments running while the live is on.
Yeah, basically, you'll be watching us through LinkedIn, so if you add any comments or any questions underneath, as you normally would on a LinkedIn post, we've got our data and web specialist, Lily. Hi, Lily. She is watching live and monitoring those questions, and she's going to send them through to us as we go along. So you can add a comment or a question any time. We'll just pause, like Geoff says, a bit later on, just to have a little opportunity to respond to any of those questions. But keep them coming all the way through if there's anything you'd like to know.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning at this point that these things, although this has been an 18-month project, these things don't happen in isolation, of course. There have been so many people that have been involved in the design and the manufacture and in supporting the project in so many different ways. So I will miss people here, I'm afraid, but huge thanks to everyone at the Broads Authority for informing the design. That's all the way through from the planning department to the Broads Authority officers themselves, to Secured by Design, who we worked with from the start on things like security for the pod, materials, locking, all that kind of stuff, to CPC, Catapult themselves in London on all the support they gave us, all the way through the project. Massive thank you to those. And also to the Department for Transport, who selected this as one of a handful of projects to take through from last year's Accelerator project. So this is it. What you're looking at here is what we call powerPOD, and it's designed and constructed in response to a growing need, really, for the charging and storage of light electric vehicles. So when we say light electric vehicles, we're talking about things like e-bikes, e-scooters, all of those cluster of light electric vehicles, so anything that isn't a car or a passenger vehicle in that sense. So we have two different models of powerPOD. What we're showing you here is the standard model. So we do a wider version that can accommodate electric wheelchairs and adaptive mobility cycles. But the construction is really similar. So I'll take you around and then we'll hand over to Emily who will talk you through the UI, the UX, the user experience and interaction. So it's in essence, it's a lockable cabinet that is constructed from a wood plastic composite. So it's a fantastic material in lots of different ways. One of those ways is its robustness and how little maintenance it needs, and the other is in its resistance to fire, which we'll talk to in a little bit. So if we walk you around, probably the first thing to mention is the solar panels that are sat on the roof. There are two, one on each end. They both generate together about 260 watts nominally of solar energy. but the construction of the PowerPOD itself, so that arc, means it's quite tolerant to being positioned in different orientations. It doesn't have to be south-facing. So that was one of the things we worked quite hard on over the last 18 months. The other thing that we were really mindful of when we were designing and constructing this is that it's easy for on-site teams to assemble. So this whole thing slots together. You can't see any joins in the material, but it is slotted together in the corners, and when it arrives to you on a flat pack on a pallet, you can construct these in a matter of minutes. There's some video, I think, on our page on LinkedIn of Neil, who is very kindly the cameraman today. Neil and I assembling a couple of these in Dalton Park, and Emily and I out in Suffolk, and they fly up. So there really is nothing to the construction in the first instance. So as we walk around, you'll see that there are no obvious entry or exit points. We've gone to some lengths to make sure that this is as far as we can, as secure as we can make it, and also that it's vandal-proof and resistant to those typical kinds of attacks that we might expect. So we think this is probably in line with level 1, which is probably the industry standard in terms of resisting attack and being safe in secure. So when we supply PowerPOD, everything that you see here is included. The roof panels, the solar panels themselves, all of the roof panels, the composite boards, and then coming around to the front, this is where the brief, I guess, got slightly interesting in that one of the things that we have talked to clients extensively about is if you're trying to store or charge LEDs, what you don't want to do is end up with a complicated access system where your customers, as we found out recently at Bedford train station actually, have to fill out a form and then hand that in at the ticket office and then wait around 12 hours for a RFID fob to be issued, which then gives you access to the compound. So we've worked quite hard on an access system which is really easy, really user-friendly, and doesn't require taking up any of the time of station staff, of car park attendants, of any of these busy people that don't really want to be administering a bike sharing scheme or a bike storage locker or anything like that. So these are completely self-contained. So not only is the access system really intuitive, Emily's going to show you that in a second, but it's completely self-contained. So there's no need for any data connections. There's certainly no need for any infrastructure, any buried cables, any external power. The whole box, the whole pod is completely self-contained and works on its own. So we're really proud of this actually, and it's been one of those things we have developed. I should say actually, and I meant to say this at the start, as with all design, there is always a bit of an ongoing development process, and Emily might raise an eyebrow at me saying this, but we are really, really welcome your feedback, your suggestions, things we can do to make this work in your situation and for the kinds of people that you're expecting at your sites and in your various places and situations. Emily is I'm always telling Emily, don't offer anything bespoke, and there I am offering something slightly bespoke. But you know what I mean. We design and build these from scratch, so we're not importing and exporting these. These are our designs. So please do comment, and anything positive, negative, it's all really valuable. But I'll hand over to Emily, who will talk you through the UI and the UX.
Hello, here I am with my e-bike, arriving to spend some time at wherever this is sited, which we'll talk a little bit more about in the future. So it's dead simple. I'm just going to show you how it works when you roll up with your e-bike ready to go. So here it is. I'm just going to park my e-bike over here for a moment. There we go. All you need is your phone. And so on the front here, we've got a handy sign with a QR code. So open up my phone's camera and we hold it up and it reads the QR code and it takes you, put my code in, to the Juniper website. So this is our platform that gives you access. So I've already got an account. So I can log in dead simply, but it's really quick and easy to set up an account yourself if it's your first time doing it. You can do that in advance, or you can do it when you turn up. It's dead quick. So you log in, and what it does is it takes you to the page where you can find and book your pod. So this is our demo one, so obviously in the real world, it can track where you are if you allow it to know where you are in the country, and it'll tell you where your nearest one is, or you can just find it on the list. And you press the button, choose how long you would like to stay. You can stay for up to an hour, up to 2 hours, or up to all day. And it takes you through our secure payment page at that point. It's not a lot of money, it's dead cheap, so for an hour it's 50p, up to an hour, to charge and store your bike securely. So you go through that process, you can do it on your phone, you can use Apple Pay or Google Pay, or you can just pop your credit card details in and it does it all through your phone. So it's dead secure and dead simple. Once you've done that, it sends you a secure code, and it's a one-time secure code. It changes every time anybody uses it, so it's never duplicated. The code will come through on the web app, at which point I pop that code into our lock here. So, there we go. And it just pings open. So it's dead simple. You don't have to turn anything, you don't have to write anything. Pops open like that, quite convincingly, so you know you're in. I'll just let Neil show you inside a little bit more. So there's not a lot in there, it's really straightforward. What we've got is a lot of space, so that you can pop your bike in. And then on the left-hand side here, you've got space to plug your charger in. You do need to bring your own charger with you. That is a critical point. So we don't provide chargers. That's partly because all e-bikes seem to have different chargers at the moment. So yeah. Did you want to say something?
Can I just jump in
please.
really quickly? So Neil, if you just get inside, well, not get inside, you point upwards slightly. So this box has something quite interesting. So just mounted up on the left-hand side there, you can quite see it. Yeah, so this is a dedicated fire extinguisher. So this isn't your average fire extinguisher. This is a lithium-ion automatic fire extinguisher. So we get asked quite a lot about fire safety and the dangers of charging e-bikes. One of the most sensitive sites we've ever installed at is the National Innovation Centre in Oxfordshire. They've got 2 huge particle accelerators. It's a part of the critical national infrastructure group of sites in the UK, so it's incredibly sensitive as a place. They are really particular about fire safety, and so in response to that, we've included this optional fire extinguisher. So there's no maintenance, there's no servicing, nothing has to happen to that, but it automatically fires if the temperature gets above around 90 degrees Celsius and fills the whole void with a clean, inert gas that extinguishes and cools any lithium-ion battery fire. But the great thing about we've sourced that fire extinguisher in particular for this option, for this application, because it doesn't leave any residue. So it's not as if something should happen, you end up with a lot of firefighting residue all the way around the outside of the bike and the box. It's an inert gas, so it's a clean fire extinguisher. So when you return to that, depending on what's happened, it should be ready to just remove the bike, smarten up and use again, hopefully. But that's a really useful addition. Sorry for jumping in.
No, that's it. I haven't realised you physically done it, but you don't. That's great. So that's an optional add-on. I mean, you know, heaven forbid. But yeah, so you would bring your own charger along, and Geoff's just going to show you literally wheeling. I mean, we've got a dinky little e-bike here. This is the foldable cute version. Yeah, it's going to wheel it in. There's plenty of space for a standard size e-bike or a touring e-bike as well, and belongings as well, if you wanted to leave things in there. And at this point, you just grab your charging cable. There's literally one socket, can't go wrong, there's one socket to plug it into, and then you press the button. So just going to show you that.
Yeah, I'll just show you that one. So an IP44 ingress protection rated socket. So it's in the dry anyway, but we've got this sprung flap just to give it a little bit of extra protection. So you pull that up, it's just a normal UK 3-pin plug. We pop that in, and then we just press that button and the charging starts.
So that's it, it's happening. And at that point, you are free then to go off and enjoy yourself. So we just push the door close, and it locks automatically. You don't have to put code in or anything like that point. It just securely shuts. You're good to go. So I think this is a good place to pause and see if you had any comments or anybody's interested in asking questions or anything like that. That's just going to check the comms from Lily. She's in sort of the central data point sending out information. Just while he's doing that, I'll just let you know, if you're thinking about where can these go, we're having conversations with train stations. This is a great spot for a transport hub, bus and train stations if people are arriving, particularly in rural areas or somewhere where you haven't necessarily, you're not in walking distance of a train station or a bus station. This is ideal. You can get your e-bike, cycle from home, arrive to the transport hub, pop your bike in here securely for the time that you're away working or shopping or whatever you're doing. Off you go on the train or the bus, come back, and it's charged up and ready, and it's securely stored for you. But we are also talking to lots of tourist destinations. This one actually is going to be two things. This particular pod, we're going to be showing it this weekend in Hexham, our local town, at the On Your Bike Festival.
Oh, yeah.
So if anybody wants to come and see this one in the flesh, this weekend is your chance in the Queen's Hall, actually, in the foyer. So we're going to be there on Beaumont Street with this very one, just before it goes to its permanent home, which is the Woodhorn Museum in Northumberland. So, yeah, they've already got a little bit of cycle storage or some bike racks, but they haven't got anything for charging there, and they're really keen to have that offer because it's a popular cycling spot there too. So, yeah, loads of applications. Have we got any questions?
We have actually. Louise Wicks.
Louise.
Hi, welcome back after your maternity leave. I don't think we've seen you for probably
about 18 months, yeah.
Yeah, quite a long time. And she asks, is the pod wide enough for mobility scooters?
Good.
Yeah, do you want me to take this one? Yeah. So this is our standard width pod. This is 900 millimeters across at its widest point. We do, and it's not here actually because it's already in the in our site in Suffolk, but we do what we call an accessible pod. So it's 200 millimeters wider overall. No, it's more than that, isn't it? No, it is. It's 200 millimeters wide. Neil's nodding. So it's 1100 millimeters wide. We've designed that using now let me get this right, Wales for Wellbeing.
Wheels for Wellbeing
Yeah.
have got a guidance document that we've referred to and tried to accommodate.
So Wheels for Wellbeing have suggested that if you have a metre width, that's sufficient to get a mobility scooter in. So you probably see in the background, these are sort of our test vehicles, but one of these is an e-trike, and that fits into, actually it fits into the standard size pod, okay, but the accessible pod fits in kind of wider and adapted cycles and stuff like that. But thank you very much for that question, Louise. We must catch up with Louise, actually. We've been meaning to catch up with you for ages. So, thanks. So the wheels are turning.
The puns have started, I apologise.
Oh yeah, I didn't even realise I was doing. That tells you something. So we are getting other questions coming through. There might be a few minutes before something else comes through. I don't know if we want to, is there anything else we want to mention? We should probably mention some of these other ones actually. And colours, that's something we haven't mentioned.
Yeah, we haven't got all the colour options on display here at the moment, but this, you can see the sort of the charcoal colour, slate colour is very popular. So some of these ones are going to local sites. This one is going to County Durham. This is the smoother finish. I like this, very nice and smooth, modern looking. Same wood, plastic, composite, recycled material. And some of these going down to the Broads, and there is a darker brown. This one here is a lighter brown one, same as the one that we've been looking at. There was a darker brown version of this we haven't got on display at the moment. Oh, Geoff's just gone to get the samples. Excellent.
Yeah,
so you can have a little look. Do you want me to hold them up?
Yeah, if you can do. I think we'll probably.
Let's go into the light.
I think it might be worth just talking through a little bit just about the change in texture as well. So what we've been talking around is one of the I suppose you could call it the first generation. So if I just take you back to this one, so you can see it's quite a heavy wood grain effect. We did this in response to the brief from the Norfolk and Suffolk Broads because they wanted something that blends in really with the kinds of I guess, the texture, the sort of colours that the Norfolk Broads tend to use, particularly in construction. And so they've ended up using, I think we've got 6 pods going into the Norfolk Broads that are using this colour. There seems to be quite a popular use of like a charred wood in East Anglia, and we thought, and the Broads agreed actually, that this does blend in quite well. What we've since done is we've moved towards this material, so it's from a slightly different supplier, but the texture it's more of a brushed finish than it is the deep wood grain. And the nice thing actually about this is it can work in a range of different settings. So it's still muted enough to work in a rural setting, but it's also quite modern actually when it's all constructed. So if you were thinking of more of an urban setting, or you're thinking of installing these in a town or a city, we really like grey actually. But an example of this pod, we just swing around to this one. So this is going up, this is power rolls, isn't it, I think? So this is going up, are they Blythe? Somewhere near Blythe, I think, or something. Sin. So this is the pod this is almost constructed, almost ready to go. But you see, it does look slightly different. The appearance of it is less of that wood grain, of that deep sort of appearance, I suppose, and more of a kind of flat and a brushed finish. But I think it looks really smart. I think we both agree, Emily and I, that it's a really nice material. So it retains all of those things about fire resistance, about its ease of manufacture. The whole system is exactly the same. It's just a slight change in the surface finish of the material. Shall we finish off? I'll just check to see if there's any more questions. There are dots happening.
That's okay. And if you have any questions after we finish the broadcast, obviously you can ping us a message at a time. You can add comments onto, I think, onto the recording even after it's done. Yep. And we will be sharing this video through our website. We'll do it as another LinkedIn post and through social media. So if you want to keep the conversation going, obviously. And if this is our first time doing a live webinar like this, or a live stream, so it's all very exciting for us. But we are keen to do a bit more of this. We're developing other products. This powerPOD obviously is the one we've been really working on this year. Things don't stop here though. We've got other products that are, as Neil is very aware, because he's got quite a long list of things to be doing when he's not being our cameraman. So we will be doing some other live streams if this is something that is of interest, with our new product ranges that are coming out, with any other questions, anything else that you particularly want us to focus on, we can do more. So we're up for that. Cool.
So when I say that we can't do any bespoke options in the manufacturer, but then you say we'll do anything like media-wise online, that's different.
Because we love it. We like it.
So we've got another question. This is about RAL colours, which is a really interesting one, and it's slightly triggering for me, to be perfectly honest. But do you use RAL colours? Where's Louise Wicks again? Do you use RAL colours as an option? We potentially like to pair with bus shelters that often use standard RAL colours in their manufacture and keep a consistent palette. However, I really like the texture of the wood grain style. So, RAL colours, okay. We have talked about this actually with Loud Mobility based out of Camden in London, because we wondered if, when we visited them down there today, and it's just so colourful and it's just an incredible...
I don't think a grey pod would
in
the centre of Camden, it would not quite fit the vibe.
And I think that's, we haven't thought about this for a while, but we mentioned when we were at Loud whether there would be the possibility to spray these with something to add some colour to them. Now, I have no idea, is the short answer, Louise. I don't know how paint would take to it, but we have actually just had an order from Northumberland County Council for a bus shelter made out of this material. So I think what might be useful if you're looking for kind of like an integrated option where it's a bus shelter. Did I say bus station?
No.
I said bus shelter. Oh, that's all right. Yes. That's all right. Just careful not to mission free.
Don't over-promise
the entire bus station. Get your orders. So I think actually it's worth having a conversation. We need to catch up with you anyway, Louise, and just see if there's a bit more integration that we can do that perhaps isn't separate items, but all built in. The situation I'm thinking of is in Corbridge. Was it yesterday? Monday we were there, and we saw a really similar, I can picture almost the sort of thing you're talking about, where it was a bus shelter and a bin, I think, and some cycle. Oh, that's right.
There was a bench, there was some shutter stands, and it looked like, was working okay and people were using it, but it had evolved over time clearly. Like the bus stop had gone in first, then that became a shelter, then there was some thought added for some Sheffield stands, and then the bin was separate and the bench. And it was all kind of okay, but it didn't look cohesive, and it wasn't a sort of a placemaking thing. It didn't look like, I don't know, we're doing a lot of work and research into behaviour change and about, we're really trying to encourage people to opt for the car as not just the first option, and actually what else can we do with public transport and integrating things. The way it looks and the way it feels and the way that it all talks to itself aesthetically is, we know, really important. So getting the materials right, getting the colours right, getting the integration of it all together is part of what we're starting to look at with our designs. One of our other products is the powerPOD, which is, you might have seen Vindolanda has got one of the earlier versions of the powerPOD. It looks like a kind of a nice version, I think, of what people imagine as a regular bike shelter. But we're using the same material for the new design of that. And we're actually now thinking it doesn't have to just be a bike shelter. Essentially, all of our products are off-grid, low carbon, power generating stations. And so, yes, there is a need for e-bike charging and bike storage, but what else is there a need for? And if that's as a bike and combined bus shelter with some live bus times and links to whatever other transport options there are through a screen, that's something we can potentially incorporate. Some lighting to make it feel safe, especially for women and girls wanting to use their bikes and do these things in the evenings and when it's dark. We're really wanting to integrate as much of this as possible. We're sort of talking more about the pod today, but there's a lot more that we're working on and doing, so we'd love to just keep that conversation going with you, but with anybody who's interested in those things. So,
no, not at all. And I think that's the thing we've been talking about more and more, actually, is that we know that this isn't often the only thing that's going in, and then we talked about placemaking, and it's about connecting transport options and trying to integrate rail and bus services with active travel. And so there is a need for a kind of a place here where it isn't, this isn't going to solve a transport issue on its own, but with something that creates, like Emily says, a welcoming space, something that encourages people to think about mode shift and modes of transport and interchanges and those sorts of things. So probably over the last few months, we've talked quite a lot about how we can use our manufacturing know-how, learn what we've understood and developed over the last 18 months to create something which is a bit more of a holistic solution rather than just purely focusing on bike charging and storage. So yeah, absolutely. And we're looking for partners there, actually. Northumberland County Council have been fantastic, as have
Hertfordshire County Council, yes. Shout out to Nick. Really excited to be working with you. I won't do shout outs.
I was going to say, it's not the kind of thing we're trying to create.
There's loads of shout outs I could be doing here, so yeah.
But I think with it's coming up to 5:30 actually,
okay,
so we probably better leave it there.
Fantastic. So thank you for joining us if you have. Oh yeah, we'll just show you, if you're thinking, well, the bike's in there now, what?
Oh, yeah.
When you come back from your lovely time away doing whatever it is, it's essentially the same code that you entered to open the door in the first place. Just pop it back in and the door will become open. So if you're not sure, go back on your phone, on the web app, and it'll be on there for you. So pop it open.
Do I take the bike out now?
I can do it if you want to.
I thought you wanted me to sort of cycle off.
Yeah, go on, let's do that as an initial. Lovely. Yeah. No, so yes, that's how it works. It's dead simple. And also, I will say, when you're using the web app, when you're using Juniper, if it's your first time doing it, and if you're thinking, actually, how's this work? We're on hand. Lily has set up a system so there's frequently asked questions on there, but there's also a way you can contact us if you get really stuck, and we'll be on the end of an email and be able to give you some information.
Very, very lastly, Stephen Morrison Cairns is on, of course. Stephen, there would be nothing happening anywhere in active travel without you. Huge thanks to Stephen, massive support, and just somebody that really understands that active travel picture and the integration thing we were talking about a little bit earlier on. Steve's pinged a quick question through. I think we'll probably have to leave it there, Steve, but we will catch up with you at a later date, of course. We might even see Steve this afternoon, because we're going on the Northumberland line this afternoon with the new train route that's just been opened, so we might see you there, Steve, if you're around.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And yeah, get in touch if you've got any questions or you want to know any more. Bye.
Bye for now.